and welcome to another episode of HR and Payroll 2.0. I'm Pete Tiliakis, and as always, I'm joined by the legendary Julie Fernandez. How you doing, Julie?
Doing great today, Pete. I'm excited to get to play catch up. Let's play catch up today.
Yeah. There was so much news. I thought it would be a good idea that we do a news episode, right, and just talk about all this. There's just a lot going on. I've written on some of them, but there's many I'd love to get your opinions about and just see what's going on. So thought
For
we could do
sure.
that. Yeah. So
All
what have you
right,
been up?
let's
Yeah. What have you been up to lately?
well, I know we're going to talk about it a little bit here, but last week I was last week. Jeez, oh Pete's. Yeah, last week I was out at San Diego with ADP.
Yeah.
So they had meeting of the minds and their global partner summit. So I know we'll be talking about them a little bit today, and just tons and tons of. There's so much client activity going out there,
Yeah.
going around out there, and I'll talk about it at the end. But been doing a couple of these micro surveys with some results from the first one, and I want to tell folks about a second one out there that's
Ooh.
that we've published, and we're capturing some insights on AI in
Yeah.
HR. And I know you have your survey we want to talk about as well. So
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. How did you get to hang around San Diego at all? I love San
No,
Diego.
no, I was in and out. You'd think I'd
Oh,
be better
it's
about doing that, but
paradise.
we were staying right at the marina there. Oh,
Yeah,
was it
it
beautiful?
is.
Just beautiful.
Yeah, I've done Cornerstone Convergence there several times, up there at the Marriott Marquis, and I love San
That's where I
Diego.
was. Yep,
Yes, I always stay a
it's
weekend.
beautiful. Yep.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Great food, just good time, man. I love San Diego.
Super close
So,
to the airport too. I didn't realize
yeah,
how convenient it was.
yeah.
It was awesome. I was in and out very quickly, but it was convenient. It was beautiful.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I miss meeting of the minds. They didn't have analysts at that this year. We did rethink instead, as people probably saw my write up that's swirling around out there.
Yep,
So,
yep.
yeah, very cool. Well, look, let's get into
Yeah,
the news. We got a lot of news here, and then we've got some stuff like you said that we want to kind of cover off and make sure people are aware of. So, yeah, let's
absolutely.
do it.
Dive in. Where do you want to start?
Well, look, it's been we're how many days now into 2024? What, probably 70 some days or so, and we've already seen a lot of acquisitions, right? One of the big ones this week, or in the last few weeks, I should say, late February, there was Workday picking up HiredScore.
Mhm.
Really cool stuff, right? Like they're really amplifying and boosting very much, accelerating their AI capabilities around recruiting.
Mhm.
I would say that, and look, there are much better points of view on this from my peers out in the marketplace. I know Kyle Lagunas had a great write up. I'm sure Madeline Lorano has a point of view. And I've seen a number of different conflicting points of view about how impactful this is or isn't to the market. So I will leave the deep dive into the recruiting world to them. But my point of view from studying Workday and working with Workday, recruiting's been a gap, right? It's been a bit of a less than feature that Workday had, or app, I should say, module that probably wasn't getting the adoption that it should have, and some of that was the maturity of its capabilities. And they've brought it a long way. It's come a long way, and I think this is just another big accelerator that is going to amplify all of their use cases around, finding and retaining, and so hopefully attracting the best talent. So,
Yes.
very cool stuff. Yeah.
So I have a question though, Pete. So in the recruiting space, there's the kind of core recruiting applicant tracking type stuff, requisitions and that sort of thing. That's basic. And then there's candidate management and some of just sourcing of candidates. Any thoughts on, like the fit here or, for folks that are familiar with Workday modules, but maybe not so familiar with higher score, like where or how that's really going to impact?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, that's probably a long answer.
Yeah.
I'd say, yeah, no, it does. It absolutely brings over a lot of that capability to find candidates and match them to skills, right? And we know Workday's done a lot of work on their skills cloud.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I think this is going to absolutely boost that candidate matching and identification, right? And certainly really helping the frontline manager, the hiring manager, and the recruiter be more effective as well, right? There's a big part around efficiency and guided experiences and recommendations through insights that I think is going to be a big part of that experience. So I'm excited to see what they do with this, and I'll be at the Innovation Summit in April, and hopefully we'll get a little bit more insight as to what this exactly means. And yeah, I think it's cool. I mean, I think it's
Yeah.
it's two really nice niche solution has gotten together with a very powerful tech provider that is going to just give it a place to flourish. So I'm excited
Yeah.
about it.
And this is just the intent to acquire notification, right? So there's probably still a little bit of working out the mechanics, right? And timing
Yeah,
that's
I don't
going
think
on
it's
behind the scenes.
yeah, I don't think it's closing until like April or May or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, April 30th, I think is what they said. But yeah, and just to
Cool.
clarify, I think HiredScore positions themselves as a talent orchestration technology, right? Their AI and
Yeah.
automation enable, big companies to do much better recruiting, much better outcomes, more productivity, and just effectiveness in how they're hiring. So, yeah, very exciting and interesting, Julie. HiredScore is live in 150 countries and supports 70 languages. So
Oh, that
very ready for
that
the
is cool.
localizations. Yeah.
That is a very cool stat, and it's very
Yes.
cool in the recruiting space where there's still so much, like global payroll, there's still so much localization that
Yeah.
needs to happen in that space that it's very difficult for all sorts of firms to break out into truly, multi-country, multi-region, multi-compliant
Yeah.
space. So that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, and look, I mean, again, I'm not the foremost expert on recruiting. I think you should certainly, if you want deeper details on this, you should look to my peers. But from what my experience with the recruiting space and my experience with recruiting technologies and looking at this it is a bit like global payroll, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot out there, and there's a lot of micro solutions. There's a lot of ATSs. And it's confusing, I think, right? Just like a lot of this stuff. And so maybe this gives a little bit of clarity to the market in some ways. I know Kyle Lagunas had a very strong opinion that this was highly, highly impactful, whereas some others thought, maybe it's not that impactful. But I
Mhm.
do think it probably brings a massive injection of value to the Workday platform. And if nothing else, right, they're going to nurture that and take it forward. So,
Yeah.
yeah, not sure how much clarity it gives us in the market, but
Well, as with everything, it's all about the execution. So there's
yes.
magic to be had. The question is,
Yes.
can folks really figure out how to make the magic together?
Yeah. Well, look, Workday's kind of gotten away from its power of one, right? It's not one anymore. It's bought not a number of things over the years, and so I think it's now the power of the ecosystem, and the power of the apps, the Workday apps. And I think that Workday has done a great job of taking what they do buy, very very smart stuff, and bringing it in and integrating it properly and putting it to work right away, right, seamlessly. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have no doubt they'll do great with this as well.
Awesome. That's
Yeah.
cool news.
Yeah.
What else do you have on your in your bag of tricks?
Well, coming back to ADP a little bit,
Uh-huh.
let's talk about. We were talking about the marketplace before we got started, right?
Yeah.
It's still largely the largest marketplace out there in HR. 800 partner solutions. I think you're a partner solution in their
Mind
world.
blowing.
Yes, huge, right? And that's fantastic for extensibility and filling white spaces and finding the apps and things that you need to fuel your business. And so, what they've done now is introduced a AI enabled or really machine enabled machine learning capability to help companies surface the best fit applications to meet their needs. So if you're out there searching for, say, earned wage access or whatever it is you need, it's going to help you find that much faster. But one of the great things too is that any partner offering an AI solution inside of that marketplace has to meet ADP's requirements on ethical AI usage, right? So they have to be able to have that human oversight, the monitoring, and make sure that it is meeting their principal standards for ethical AI. So look, just another drip, if you will, of artificial intelligence coming into the world of HR, this time in the marketplace space to help companies find the right thing for them that's going to complement their ADP investment. So,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I think it's some type of thing you're going to see more of.
Yeah, and I'm just going to clarify. So I don't. I have a lot of relationship with ADP, but nothing, no app or any product in their marketplace per se. I would say, there's the funster in me that looks at this AI enabled experience in the marketplace of 800 plus, possibly really cool solutions, and wants to go out there and start querying like how to find the AI ones
Yeah.
within that. And
Right.
and so I don't know. Maybe I'll play around with that this weekend and see what happens. I think
Yeah.
I might still get a pool of 800, given how how AI is such a
Yeah.
key
No,
thing
totally.
that folks are promoting in their space.
Yeah, I mean, it's good, right? Curiosity. I was playing with the Copilot from Microsoft this morning, just messing around with some images for some blogs I'm writing, and it's fun. And I ended up spending an hour doing it. Right, you're just kind of plundering around, and I think that's part of being human, right? Exploring this stuff and figuring out where it fits in your world.
Yeah.
Um,
Hey,
Yeah.
while we're talking about ADP, well, Meeting of the Minds was a little bit different format and different participants. They did it have it at the same place and the same time, basically their global partner summit, which is where they have their partnering organizations, their systems integration partners, like all sorts of partners, not marketplace tools, but partners. I thought you might be interested because I know that one you didn't make, just to run down some of the major topics that they shared. This is where they share a lot of the roadmap information for folks who aren't at Rethink where you were, and maybe just share a little bit about that. You game?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So as usual, they often start with a welcome and just a global product update. Tanya James is the one that shared that global product update, and their network is as strong and thriving as ever. And there's always the credentials that come out of the different peaks and squares, and different sorts of analyst sorts of things. And their major theme I thought was interesting, but also maybe back to basics. Was really about bringing forward the global with the local practitioner experience. So a lot of what Tanya was really focusing on was, integrated experience, updated experience, and that kind of. I just wanted to check with you. I think that kind of hangs with what you were highlighting from Rethink.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah,
true?
yeah, absolutely. They've unveiled their, I would say, refreshed user experience and UI for payroll, a very centralized command center, much like what we're seeing most organizations build. You can find all of my bits on Rethink. I wrote a bit about just the value, the different value of Rethink. I think as as an event.
Hmm.
But going back to that, I did detail some of that product and the ADP AI Assist, ADP Assist AI solution. So yeah, I think that what they're really doing is trying to bring some clarity around the fact that right, Celergo and Streamline. I think it was a little confusing. They sharpened that and kind of pointed one for upmarket, global view upmarket, and then of course Celergo downmarket. I would say thousand below populations, if you will. But I think that tech is going to clarify all of that, help create that single layer, that single view, and really fundamentally power their way forward. Which again, their HCM has a lot to do with leading some of that too. So a lot going on there, and I think they're
Yep.
really trying to refresh, really bring a new look to all of their global payroll
Yep,
capability.
AI Assist was certainly front and center
Oh
in the
yeah,
morning as well, as you can imagine, with the generative AI and how they were doing that. There was quite interesting. I think a lot of people were really interested by another morning topic was next gen, of
yeah,
course.
yes.
And so besides the product and sales leaders that were front and center talking a little bit about where they're at with next gen, they brought up a couple of clients, which was interesting, because one was from AEG. Tanya Oglesby was there. She's an early adopter and was sharing some of her experiences. But the one that might be, the headline eye catcher, attention catcher, is Greg Harmer from Amazon.
Ah,
And so, of course, Amazon, obviously, just by its name and its size, and Greg is always such a great speaker on stage. He's really fun to listen to. He's a very down to earth, good speaker. Um, Amazon just catches everyone's
oh
attention,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, oh
Million
my God,
employees, right?
Amazon's going to next gen, and of
Yeah,
course, if you don't know any, if you wouldn't know any better, wouldn't suspect any better, that's starting, with small populations, right? Pilot
yeah,
populations. But Greg had, and Tanya, they both had some wonderful things to say about next gen. Just a couple of stats that caught my attention there is, they're now up to 36 clients that are live on next gen. And have 49 that are actually work in progress right now, work in process, and a total of about 22,000 employees live. So it's up, it's stabilized. I'm sorry, 22,000 is the largest client live
yeah,
today.
yeah,
Um, and lots of different major and minor releases. So very true to the agile release, like something about in the neighborhood of 632 major and minor releases in in fiscal 23, or their fiscal 24, I guess we should
Yeah.
say, right? Because they have
Yeah.
a weird fiscal.
They've got like a summer, I think, year that starts.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think it's been out there for a little while. It's been a little bit slow and kind of, plodding along, but I think we're just going to see a little bit more of them coming to the stage with stories and names that are eye poppers.
Oh yeah, yeah, 100%. You're right. Next gen, very visionary, very cool stuff. Very, all the bells and whistles you would expect. AI enabled, microservices, highly integrated, highly seamless, very mobile driven. It's next gen, right? It
Yeah,
fundamentally is, but it did get out of the gate a little slow. But I think, and I wrote about this a little bit. I think what's really exciting is that Srini Kutam, who was the former CHRO, former client of ADP as well, long time ago, I think, spent 5 years as the CHRO, is now the head of product strategy, and I
yeah,
know that next gen is one of his pet projects, and he's got a really great vision for that. So. And certainly, obviously, doing a lot with ADP Assist and all of the AI that they're generating around their platform. So,
yeah.
yeah,
And
I'm
then
excited for next gen, and you're right; they are starting to. One of the things I noticed is when I was at Rethink, and I wrote about this, is that a lot more organizations are looking at ADP and considering them as part of their HCM decision making, which is a big validation for the work that they've done to bring themselves in line with the conversations around a Workday or a SAP or a Dayforce or UKG or something like that that's been in making HCM for so long. So that's a lot of credibility to their products coming a long way.
that's right. Low
Yeah.
code, no code, and just the
Yeah.
ability to, Greg was fun about it. He described how, you can really within the seconds that it takes you to move your phone down to, swipe in or do the time punch, right, with the phone, to the time you look at it and see the impact it has on your pay is really, like spectacularly low code, no code, and that was just very appealing
Oh
to them, and it
yeah.
was a fun story to hear,
Well,
really.
you think about Julie, like think back to I always think back to like when we were using the legacy on-prem systems, right? But at the time, the latest and greatest, and you'd have to go get IT to help you build a report. It's like, come on, you know what I mean? And now it's drag and drop, right? Or you've got to go to IT to get some wage type configured, right? And it's going to
Yeah.
take you 2 months to get it done. Now it's very quick. You can test it very quickly, and it's rapid. It's there. And two, we've joked about this before, but think about all the diligences, if that's a word, efforts that you've been through, where especially payroll, right? Where there's a guy who was managing access databases somewhere in the basement, and they had two of these databases that were absolutely holding the whole company together, whole HR and payroll together. And without that guy, payroll doesn't run. That I think is where microservices and APIs are all gonna solve that, right? Because now you can go into that marketplace and find that thing that can do whatever that access database did before, but also you're not doing this heavy lift development on changes, right? You're fundamentally able to do it in a very rapid, again, guided drag and drop kind of way where you don't need that IT lift, and that saves cost, right? That saves time. I mean, there's so much impact to that. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And my last comment here before we move on to some other folks, because we do have a chock full newsroom, is just know ADP, like everyone else, has a lot going on. And so
Yeah.
if you're a client, if you're a product lead and within ADP, that's great. Like I'm leading the Global View product, and I know we're taking a transition, a move to HANA, right? To S4 HANA, or I'm dealing with Celergo and we're releasing a major upgrade, or I'm dealing with, e-time to workforce management, or
Yeah.
I'm moving from Siebel to, like I'm in the ADP ecosystem, moving us from Siebel to, our next gen case management embedded tools. But the client, on the client's end, they could be on the receiving end of multiple ones of those components of their ADP relationship and their ADP solution that are hitting them, at the same time or at different times. And so, there's really an individual client lens
Yeah.
that you need to apply and go, you know what, you could be getting, new things, upgrades from multiple dimensions in your relationship with ADP, and
Yeah.
that's awesome. But it also means there's a lot of things to think about from a change management perspective or from a staffing perspective on the client side, right?
Yeah.
In
Absolutely.
order to be able to ingest all of that goodness.
Yeah. No, that's a great point of view. No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I totally agree.
Yeah. All right,
Yeah.
let's move on to something else because I know there's more.
Yeah, we got lots here. So one little quick one that I think that kind of hid, if you will, was the acquisition by FirstAdvantage of Sterling Check. So if you know FirstAdvantage, I don't know them well. I do know they are a big background screening provider.
Mhm.
Essentially, took out one of their bigger peers in a $2 billion plus all stock deal or cash in stock, I think. So yeah, just a little one there, right? Not that little,
Tidbit.
but
Yeah.
yeah, a quiet one, as I would say. Maybe didn't not as glamorous as some of the other ones, but
Right,
certainly very
right.
impactful as we see more of this consolidation, I think, happening around the space. Um, so one that I got very excited about was a firm I know well and work closely with is Deel, the
Uh-huh.
global EOR, very much the unicorn, rocket ship ride, darling of the industry in terms of disruption and really just growing quickly. So Deel, as you know, has been really aggressive about building out their, I would say ambitious. Aggressive is probably a little bit too much. Really ambitious about building out their offering, right? Really trying to be that one-stop shop, as they all are. And I think what they've done here is a really nice move. They've added Zavi, I believe they're based in Munich, and it's a people enablement technology that is really going to come into their world and create the opportunity for employers to be able to develop and retain, right, through learning and development capabilities, their workforce, right. And so the beauty of this is I think it complements what Deal already had been building around their global employment capabilities and many of the little add-on solutions that they have, value-added solutions they've brought into their ecosystem, either by way of organically building it or, in this case, acquiring it. And so I think it makes total sense. I think it's where you'll see many of the EORs go. Is now they're kind of starting to pull into maybe providing some performance management, something Deal already had, learning and development, and that sort of thing, right? Because even if these employees, these workers aren't necessarily yours and maybe won't be forever, they certainly still need to be developed and retained and have a great experience. And I think this is
Yeah.
just another step in that direction.
And so remind me,
Yeah.
Pete, is it Deal that picked up PayAsia a while back?
They did. Yeah. And
Okay.
that's why I'm going to get to that too. They made
Well,
another acquisition in that area.
Well, before you get to
Yeah.
that, I just wanted to ask, so are you seeing when you see these deal things, is it more about the functional capability and the experience that would then be broadened, or is there more secret sauce and more oomph in the, in the geo portion? I think
Yeah.
Zavi's German based, right? So
Yeah.
like how should we be thinking about that?
Yeah. So with Zavi, I think this was more of a fold-in capability that they wanted to have sooner than later, right? They wanted to
Yeah.
have this learning capability and training capability and be able to help people develop skills. So that was more of a pick up this piece of tech, drop it into our ecosystem, and help us
Okay.
accelerate that. So, and that's actually, I think that's maybe the first one they've done like that. The
Yeah.
other acquisition they made, which is very similar to what they did back in, I guess it would have been what 2019 now, maybe for PayAsia,
Hmm.
is they also picked up PaySpace.
Okay.
So
Okay.
PaySpace is a South African-based payroll provider. They are a technology provider that has been around, I want to say almost 15, 20 years, something like that. And basically, Deal was leveraging PaySpace as both their go-to-market partner in that region, but
Hmm.
also their internal partner to help them enable their own employment in that area. And so, what I think is really exciting here is to get to your point is, you look at PayAsia and you look at PaySpace. These are both localization capabilities, right? That'll
Right.
that'll fuel engines and technology behind their technology to help them grow their global payroll presence and capabilities. So
Yeah.
this is really, really big, I think, for Deal because they have that global payroll ambition, but didn't have the engines to power that, right? They certainly have great
Right.
tech, and PaySpace is going to boost that by 40 plus countries, right, including Africa, Brazil, as well as the UK. So they've got a little bit more than just Africa for
Just
sure.
Africa, right?
Yeah, MENA, and so I think this is a really nice addition here. And just speaking to Alex, the founder, he's really amped on this. They talk about this I think a little bit on the TechCrunch article that came out, and I have a write up coming on this any day now. I think it'll be out Monday or Tuesday. But this is huge, right? I mean, this is a really at this point it thrusts Deal to the top of the list in terms of global payroll capability from an engines perspective, right? I mean, the majority of their peers are fundamentally aggregators. And those that do have a rich global payroll capability are largely global payroll providers that then turned on EOR on top of that. So like a Niamo, for example. But
Mhm.
this really gives them a lot of credibility in that way. It gives them the tech to now build on. They've got now 50 or so engines between what they had with PayAsia, what they've picked up with PaySpace, and they're developing the US, Julie, in and around I would say a partnered go to market capability for PEO. So not only is Deel able to offer global payroll, global EOR, but they can technically now offer PEO. That's something they launched last year with Venture HR to
Mhm.
power that. But Deel is out there building their own capabilities as well, and that includes a US and Canada payroll engine. So they are really, really building that ecosystem out, and really, I think, planted their flag now on 7 continents, and very serious here. So I think this is going to be a solution to watch.
So tell me something, Pete. When you
Yeah.
mentioned, the build out, and this is always it's always exciting. It's actually a little bit of a thrill, but by the same token, you can acquire a lot of toys, and you need to put them together artfully, right? But in pulling together all these pieces, is the focus really still on the technology, the solution, or will there be services around this, especially when you start thinking about competing in the managed payrolls in the payroll space?
Oh, they're already doing it, right? They're already taking managed services on. I don't know to what scale, right? How big of the
Yeah,
customer yet? I'll be curious to see how that goes. But that is the goal, right? Is to
yeah,
become a global payroll provider. And so, yeah, they're out there. If you look, their sponsorships are happening around global payroll. They had a great
right.
global payroll summit last week that I attended. I thought was really, really nice. Had some great perspectives from some of their clients and partners. So yeah, no, they're dead serious about this. And yeah, managed services is 100% part of this. And I think as they now that they have this engine in their world, they're going to throttle it up to 100 countries.
Right, right.
As most of the major players are doing, and I think they feel like that's going to set them up really nicely to go ahead and build on
Yeah.
this global. Again, if you remember very beginning, they talked about being the Apple of HR, global
Yeah.
HR. I think, right? I think they're on their way, and look, they're doing very well with it, and I think this is just another piece of the puzzle, right? That takes them one step further.
Fun, very
Yeah.
fun. So two
Yes.
very different things, but a lot going on over there.
Polar opposites, but very, very critical strategically. So look for my write up. It'll be coming on Monday, Tuesday, I think. So
All
yeah.
right, cool.
All
Got
right.
what else you got?
Man, we got a couple more. We've just to round things out. Our good friends over at Alight have put out a couple of big announcements recently. One, I think, is somewhat quiet but somewhat important. Is the fact that they are fundamentally now moving all of their SAP payroll engines, their global payroll engines, which are partially enabled, as you know, through the
Mhm.
Eureka solution back in the day, which is now
Mhm.
WorkLife, Alight WorkLife. That is powered in part by SAP's on-prem engines, and they are moving those all to the cloud S4 HANA, which I think is just indicative of something they had always been talked about doing. And it makes sense just for the future proofing the solution, and I'm sure cost perspective and all of that. So,
Yeah,
really,
for sure. It's
yeah,
been actually probably almost
yeah,
uh, um, more than 8 years. I can remember clients, that
yeah,
have asked back in the day. It was Northgate or Rinso, now Alight, and then ADP, where they have these engines that are built on, SAP technology. When are you going to S4 HANA? And it's interesting that like now's kind of the time for both of them
yeah,
to
yeah.
take that jump.
Oh yeah, and look, there's an evolution going on at SAP, as we know, with their payroll solutions. Right, they're moving towards a very, very visionary, long-term, next-gen solution that is already in beta. It might even be past beta now in the UK.
The
So
beta in the UK, yeah,
yeah,
right. They're
yeah,
starting over
that
there.
that is progressing. So I think this look, I think this just recommits them to SAP. They're still a big SAP shop. They can still sell, deploy, and operate SAP just as they are Workday. I
Yeah,
think the Workday part of it maybe has overshadowed the SAP. But listen, this is a very deep heritage with them, and I think it just makes total
sure,
sense in
sure.
bringing them to bringing everything over to the cloud here. So
Yeah, and a lot of
yeah,
that is because the deepest of capabilities on the SAP side came from their NGA
yeah,
heritage, and
yeah,
so
Arinso, right?
if US side, yeah, if US side you weren't super familiar with the that acquisition, back in the day, and the real bench strength that brought on the SAP side of the house, like you should know about that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And look, I'm sure there's a lot of their own customers that aren't on the cloud yet, right? I mean, how many
Yeah,
PeopleSoft holdouts do they probably have?
sure.
I know there's a few, but yeah. Anyway, so we'll see, we'll see. They also made another announcement in the AI world, really launching, I guess, what you would call, they're calling it Lumen AI. I guess kind of like a light, a lumen, illumination.
Yeah.
You basically, what I would say is really platforming all of their AI capabilities into a unified ecosystem. So it really gives them the ability, I think, you got to imagine they had a couple of different solutions, right? I mean,
Hmm.
Alight's got a couple of things from the Aon Hewitt days. You've got work life now. You've got Eureka. I'm sure a lot of that had different codes and different ways of solving for their solutions. And so this, I think, platforms and aligns everything to begin building forward. So yeah, very exciting stuff. I think Alight's doing some things to bring its solutions, further future proof them, if you will. And I love what they're doing with Workday. Right, they're also leaning hard on, or Workday's leaning on them to help with their global
That's
expansion
right.
as well. Right, Germany and
Yep.
France and other areas. So yeah, I think Alight's in a great place. I've always said I think they're one of one. They can. I don't know of too many firms of it or any that can do all that they can do at the scale and the capability that they can. So I like it. I like to see them clarify things and continue to push forward. And I think they can do some cool stuff.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And I think some of the things that we're mentioning here, I mean, these you really feel, touch and feel and appreciate, even more so from the, payroll side of the house than from the, the staples benefit side of the house, right? Just
Yeah.
because they're foundational part of the platform and the technology that comes forward on the HR in the HR capability space. And in benefits they have just a whole host of other things, right, that are a little bit more front and center. So
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah,
Well,
did we
that's
get to the end? I think we got
yeah.
to the end.
That's it. I know. That was a lot of news, right? Gosh, almost a half hour of news we've talked about here. So yeah, lots going on. I thought it would be a good idea to put some perspectives out there and yeah, just share what we're seeing and certainly we'll be back with more of it as it comes. So
Yeah, so listen, let's
yeah,
put a wrap on this, but
yeah,
tell me about, like, let's push again the survey, the
yeah,
payroll sentiment survey, right, that you
yeah.
have, and make sure that folks know about that.
Please, yeah, please. If you haven't taken the payroll profession confidence survey or shared the payroll profession confidence survey or seen me talking about it, please go engage with that. Please give us your feedback. We want to help. I think we had last time I checked, Julie, we were up over 600 respondents, and I would love to get that into the thousands. So
Oh, for sure.
that's a healthy response. So thank you for everyone that's been a part of that. There's still what 2 full weeks to go. We have so we're going to try
Yeah.
to make another push and thank you to everyone, all of the vendors, all of the payroll associations, all the people, yourself, everyone, Julie, for helping. I couldn't be more thankful for that.
Yeah, and listen, I'm cheerleading us on to at least, like, you. I'd love to see you get a good hearty double or more of that, because
Yeah.
you're having folks chime in from around the world, right? So,
Oh, totally.
and so we know we have folks that listen around the world, but like 600 is great, but let's go double or nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. And look for just this week. I went on. I mean, obviously we've talked about it on our show ad nauseum, but I went on Nick Day show, legendary Nick Day of JGA Recruiting, who does
Yeah.
so much great stuff for recruiting payroll folks into this world and promotes the industry. So thank you, Nick, for everything you guys do. He had me on his show, so that just came out this week. So go check that out. I talk a bit about what's going on in the world of payroll and why this survey is so important. And so yeah, get in on it if you haven't.
Awesome. Other things on your
Yeah.
radar? Like, what else
Yeah,
would
well,
you
I'm
want to
leaving
share?
Sunday to go to Washington D.C. for the Payroll Org Capital Summit. I'm going to be presenting on Tuesday there. I think it's a 2-day event, Monday, Tuesday. I'm going to present Tuesday morning on AI and in payroll. So we're going to be talking about that quite a bit. And then I'm going to jump on a plane Tuesday night, and I'm going to head out to Vegas for the I believe it's is it the internet? I don't know if it's international. The payroll partners, or excuse me, the Independent Providers Association. Independent Payroll Providers Association. Say that 3 times fast. They are having an amazing event. I've never been. I'm so excited. It's in Vegas. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of clients, and I will be spending some time with my client iSolved at their booth, answering questions with some of the leaders that will be coming around and attending some of their events and talking to folks about what's going on in payroll. So yeah, look for me at those two places. And then look for my write up, like I said, on Deel and their acquisition of PaySpace. I've put together a good market alert on that to give you all of the ins and outs and my opinion about that. And then, of course, I've got something on ADP Rethink, which also talks a good bit about some of these new solutions around ADP Assist and the new global payroll user experience and all of that. So, always a lot going on, Julie.
You
What do you
are
got? What do you got doing?
prolific.
Yeah, thank you,
Awesome. That's awesome.
thank you. What are you
Um,
up to?
well, you know what? I wanted to make the tie to some of the AI stuff that you
Yeah.
mentioned you're doing, right? So you have that coming up, but we also have just finished doing, I think one's out there and one's coming out very, very soon. A couple of episodes specifically on AI from a
Yes.
couple of different perspectives. So if that's the buzzword that's catching your attention, don't miss at all the two back-to-back episodes that I think we've put out in the on that topic. I myself have one of those micro surveys. That's kind of my shtick
Yeah.
for the year, is to get a little bit bits and chunks of research out on AI in HR specifically.
Yeah.
It's not more than 15 questions. It's 10 minutes, of somebody's time. So I'm just getting the visual together to be able to push that out. But please look for folks to spend 10 minutes and give a little bit of input specifically on AI and how what they're thinking in the market, and I'll make that available so that you can have that for folks. And I do
Yeah.
have some results now from the first micro survey that I did earlier in the year on leave
Oh
and
yeah.
leave pain points. And so I don't even think I've had a chance to share my rough copy with you, but we're ready to send that out. And for folks that liked to hear from Keith Christensen on leave orchestration and the million different ways to try to put leave together and make it smooth and happy, we had some findings, and we were specifically diving in to figure out, like, what is it that makes what are the elements that are really contributing the most to leave pain points. So
Yeah.
fun
That
stuff.
was a good episode. Yeah, leaves are such a pain. Oh,
No, no, you
I'm just
want to
hoping
bury
AI.
that, don't you? Okay,
Just
I'm done
waiting
with
for
that.
AI to solve that, man. I'm waiting for AI to solve that. Yes, yes.
Awesome. That's
Good
it.
stuff. All right. Well, hey, that's a lot. That's a lot, right?
It
That's going
is,
on. Well,
yeah.
look, get me those links. Let's make sure I share those as well. We'll get them to our community. And yeah, look, stick with us. We, like Julie said, we got a lot of great episodes coming up. We're going to be on the road a little bit, so I'm hoping to maybe capture some conversations out there. But yeah, we appreciate you and have a great week. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care, Julie.